And we are live. Hello and welcome to Fermenting Opinions. I'm your host, David Papiden.
I'm your co-host, James McVeigh.
And we are Fermenting Opinions, the podcast and Google Hangout in search of a more palatable political ferment. This is January 24th, 2019. This is our first Hangout of the year. This is our first anything of the year.
Yeah, it's been too long, man. I'm glad to get back in the saddle.
Yeah, that's really late in the year.
Yeah,
I know.
It's the first
we
one.
burned almost a whole month. Like,
Man.
we were going to have guests and stuff like that lined up, and like it fell through. And I'm getting ready to.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's been real crazy around here. So
yeah,
this is our first getting into anything. And so of course we're going to tackle the most important thing ever. The biggest topic facing America right now is the culture wars.
Yeah,
this is ironic because I think it's really silly.
Specifically, the Battle of Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah. I don't want to make any bad like Native American references to that, but I feel like it's somewhere on the tip of the tongue, not going there.
I was thinking more Civil War, but that's okay.
Okay. We can do that too. So I guess a few days ago, last week, over this weekend, there was a bunch of kids from Kentucky, right? This Covington Catholic, if you've been living under a rock.
And a few million other people.
And a few other million people, yeah. All these people is sort of descended on Washington for various things. But this March for Life, right? And that's what they were part of. And there were Catholic high school kids, and they were all, and it's important to mention, they were all donned up in like the Trump apparel with
the Make America
hats,
Great Again gear.
That stuff, right?
It seemed like everybody that was with the squad all had either a T-shirt or a hat or both.
Something. Some even had Obama. There was one kid held up an Obama poster during one of the videos. I'm like, why has he got a poster of Obama?
I didn't see that.
I saw it. It was part of the initial outrage. We're going to get to that. So this is a story because
oh God, I haven't even watched any of them. Any of the videos.
Oh man,
I don't know.
You were truly blessed.
Stupid.
By the way, we're joined by Haley and Mike. Friends of the Ferment and what do you call it? Charter Fermenter, Haley.
Yep. And Mike Schiavello. Am I saying that right?
Yes, sir.
Yep. All right, Mike Schiavello. If you guys are on our Facebook page, you will know him for his hot takes.
His hot takes and his prolificness. Yes.
Yes.
It's we're glad to have you, sir. So this is a thing because they were kids in MAGA hats looking like in the first video that was released in MAGA hats looking like they were harassing and possibly
kind of a frail Native American man,
a wizened Native American gentleman who was singing and chanting a prayer and stuff like that.
We've since
learned it looked like a bully thing, right?
We've since learned his name is Nathan Phillips,
right?
But
we've learned a lot of things since then.
Well, yeah, we have. Yep, we've had a lot of fact checking going on both sides. That's for some reason seems like neither side can actually check facts properly. But
it's been.
But yeah, we've had a huge witch hunt.
I mean, I just can't believe how many facts people are talking about with this. And there's just like not that many facts to the actual story.
I agree, but So as David was saying, though, so we've got what we saw was an initial viral video that showed this Native American man beating this prayer drum and singing in prayer, and this teenaged white kid who's a minor smiling in his face, wearing his MAGA hat, and there was this huge outrage over, I guess, racism or something along those lines.
Well, it's really what he said. It's because of what Nathan Phillips, the Native American elder, said. He told all the outlets that he was just standing there with his group and that the students came up to him, surrounding him, were shouting racial and slurs. And he also said, they all said, started chanting "Build the Wall" when he started playing on his drums. None of that's on any of the videos.
But hang on. Well, let's slow down a minute. My understanding is from the beginning, what actually happened was some Twitter feed got a hold of the video or Twitter handle, something about something 2020, some kind of resistance thing. They blew it up. The media took a hold of it. I think Nathan Phillips was the first to give a statement like 8 hours later or something like that.
Yep.
And and he kind of threw in that stuff. But by then we were already in the throes of who the hell knows what's going on. There were accusations, like you said, of these kids wearing these MAGA hats and screaming "Build the wall" and blocking him from going anywhere, and encircling him and harassing him. Essentially, that was the initial narrative that caused all this outrage. And from there, we've seen a lot of dissection. We got a
there's been longer videos. There's been videos from different perspectives
exactly.
as to what happened. There's been various different stories. Like, it's like you said that he said that he was doing this thing and they came after him and what have you. What we understand from further conversations is, here's the situation, and I'm just going to lay it out to the best of my understanding, is that there was these kids who were doing this March for Life thing, and they were getting ready. They were waiting on their bus.
Yes, they were to meet at Lincoln Memorial. Yep,
out in the grounds in front of the Lincoln Memorial, and there was a group of what are being described as Black Israelites.
No, that's actually the name of their group. Southern Poverty Law Center has a great article about them, basically saying that they've always been
flattering.
Well, yeah, no, it's not. No, but in the Southern Poverty Law Center is extremely liberal, but they've specifically labeled them out, saying they were already kind of a radical group, but they've become more extremist throughout the years. They said some really horrible shit.
So
I mean,
this is my understanding that there were
bad guys in the story.
Yeah, exactly. They're really the shitty people. I mean,
which is why no one's debating about them. Really.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think it deserves acknowledgement, because I think it's antecedent. They're present in the same.
It definitely has to be talked about, because we didn't know anything about them when the initial outrage happened on the left. The left is freaking out, about abusing this Native American elder, but we didn't know anything about what riled these kids up before until we saw the 2-hour video that actually came out of the Black Israelite camp.
So again, if you just to understand the Black Israelite shtick, just think Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of demeanor, think that they're there.
Is it Black Israelites or it's Black Israelis? Is what it is, right?
I think it's Israelites, but they might be I think it's Black Israelites, because Israelites are people who come from Israel but don't live.
But no, I mean, I'm just wanting to make sure that because y'all said a couple of different things. So.
I think it's Black Israelites. If I'm.
Is that the name of the group?
I thought it was Israelites.
I'm almost positive. Yeah.
I thought it said Israel, and then I was just confirming.
It's Black Hebrew Israelites.
Is it?
That's what it is.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And my mistake there.
And they were screaming a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, they were saying really hateful shit. I mean, really, really terrible things that.
Hateful and hilariously wrong. Like there was one point towards the end of one of the longer videos, they're calling Trump a homosexual which I don't think there's anything wrong in the world with being a homosexual, but like that's a funny claim. Like, I can't remember why he justified it.
They said something about like the white kids are all incest babies, and there was actually a black kid that was with the group in Covington, and they said that he was their pawn or something, and that they were going to end up harvesting his organs. Yeah, and like they were talking some nonsense, but right, either way,
they were going into the get out.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah,
they were like, we live in get out America.
Yeah, one thing to
inflammatory shit.
They will literally take our bodies.
One thing to keep in mind, to put it in context, is just remember these are kids.
Yeah.
Kids. And I can't even imagine being that age.
16-year-olds.
And I want to get to that because
we are, and we're going.
That's extremely important, I think.
I mean, and it's unfortunate that happened, but also like the Black Hebrew Israelites probably targeted them because they were wearing the MAGA hats.
The MAGA gear, yeah. I mean, shit, I'd target them too, and I want to get into that as well. However, let's.
I wouldn't target them, but like
So
they look like
I don't know. People are protesting Trump or something, and you're wearing a pro-Trump stuff. I don't know.
Right. And so let's get back to. Yeah, I was going to say let's try to frame the whole setting, because it's easy for us, and I'm guilty of it right now. It's easy for us to get off of track and talk about how we feel about the situation already, because Jesus Christ, this stuff is super inflamed already.
Yeah, it's
just based on what we've said. But so what we've learned since then. That we have this big thing. There have been accusations from the left that these Covington Catholic kids were telling women that it's not rape if you enjoyed it during the March for Life.
Oh God, yeah, I think I saw.
It wasn't the case.
I haven't looked at any of these articles about this.
We're gonna get there, but hang on. We've already been through our fact checking on this. That's been disproven. those kids weren't actually with the group. It was another bunch of snotty white kids wearing MAGA gear. But still,
not these individuals.
But either way.
And I mean, wait, do they all go to like all boy or all girl Catholic schools? So is everyone wearing khakis or something?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was a bunch of Catholic schools busing in their all girls, all boys outfits for millions of them to be
Greg.
there.
What's up, Greg?
How you doing, Greg?
He's still getting adjusted.
You're actually the only Greg, but yep.
What's that?
You're
Greg. Can you hear us?
How's everybody doing?
Not too shabby. We're recapping on this whole Covington Catholic High School Native American march thing.
Fiasco.
And we're just kind of wading our way through it.
So they were at a bus stop. Or no, they were waiting for their bus.
They were waiting for the bus.
They were on sort of the Lincoln.
And they had an encounter with the harassing
Black
group.
Hebrew Israelites.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they were harassing them or something.
Yeah, pretty profusely.
Okay.
Fighting words. If in Tennessee, we'd call them fighting words.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what has been professed by
Oh, and then what happened next?
Okay, so
nobody actually knows what happened exactly.
I mean, it doesn't really seem like much happened. Nothing really happened, but
what our understanding is, or at least what my understanding is, I'll speak for myself here, is that that Mr. Phillips, who is a elder of his tribe,
describes himself as a Vietnam times.
Oh gosh, yeah. Let's give that
veteran.
a second. Give that a second.
And we'll get there.
Who cares? Go on. So
he's an old dude.
No, it kind of matters.
Yeah, it does.
We've
been splitting hairs this whole way through. But we're gonna talk about all the different hairs to split because we fact checked this shit out of this.
Well, so this guy, and why is he there?
He is part. His own
actually, no. There is an
right?
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yep.
Or something.
Yes.
Protest going on, and he's part of that. Part of a
he was like a leader in it.
Yes, and he's a big.
That's way more important than his Vietnam thing.
Well, I agree,
right.
And we're focusing on different things because we're splitting hairs here because that apparently is what happens in the culture wars. But we'll get there. So we're on this splitting hairs deal. But
what happened next? So I know the background of what the boys were doing. What was Nathan doing?
Nathan was there.
What was his group?
He was with a small group doing prayers in general, and they're doing native prayers. I forget there's an actual term for it.
I don't know either.
No one gives a shit what the Indians are doing. I get it. Okay.
Who?
No one
Racist.
Okay.
Indian? Anyway, so he's doing his prayer circle deal, and he notices that there's this big standoff going on between these Covington High School kids and the Black Hebrew Israelites, where they're getting into it pretty bad. And the longer term video shows that the Covington kids are doing their school chants or whatever to try to combat and drown out the horrible shit coming out of the Black Hebrew Israelites. And so, according to Mr. Phillips, he is leading his prayer circle in there to kind of diffuse the situation when he runs into this kid, Nick Sandmann, who doesn't want to get out of his way or who's blocking his path and kind of just standing there. And so there's apparently a prayer, according to Mr. Phillips, where he's beating his drum and he's beating it right in the kid's face, but he's chanting and praying. And the whole crowd now has enveloped the two of them. It's the two of them surrounded by hundreds of people.
The two of them, though, right?
Well, no,
but he doesn't come alone, right?
Well,
he's there and he's banging the drum and that, and like there are other native people like
behind him, I guess. Yeah. But the camera says that are focusing on this. I mean, the native people must be behind him by at least 10 feet. It's the two of them alone being circled off like they're about to dance. I mean, that's what the video is showing.
I've seen that too,
yeah. Can you see? I mean,
the video showed that.
The video doesn't even show any other Indians.
Now, can I interrupt for 1 second?
Important for context.
How does Haley know nothing about this?
She says she hasn't watched the videos.
Yeah.
I honestly just, I mean, I don't know. I just haven't cared about it.
Okay.
Just to keep things in context.
Wow.
Videos the other day.
This isn't splitting hairs. Is remember that Nathan Phillips, the Native American, he saw the standoff. Kids were school chanting, he walked into the crowd,
Yes.
praying with his drum and singing.
Yep.
And his Native American buddies group was with him, and
Yeah.
that's like he didn't walk up to the smiling kid. What was his name? Nick Sandmann.
No,
He
yeah,
walked up to him first.
walking through the middle of them because they were split off to the sides. It kind of turned into like
he kind of like did like a Moses effect on the crowd of kids, where he like they were walking through and like they dispersed away,
except for the Sandmann kid didn't move,
and Nick didn't want to move.
Yeah, exactly. And he just stood there, and
he just stood there, and then the rest of the crowd enveloped around.
Exactly, and so you have
this is where when you're sort of, if you're cutting the video to make it look a certain way, it could look like the crowd surrounded the Native American people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where this viral video came
theoretically from. That's what happened, but it happened organically,
right?
I mean, this isn't somebody's fault, at least from my eyes. It's not somebody's fault from either end. It's this Native American group is coming through here doing their prayer chant thing to try to break up this fight. This kid doesn't move, and then all of a sudden, every one of these wildebeests, from both sides, circles around, and you're looking at like a high school dance off.
Yeah, and all that is just channeling a bunch of energy too, like
exactly,
people, hypes up like both people in the situation.
And so you've got this kid, Nick Sandmann, who's standing there just not moving his ground, and according to him, I guess he's given an interview saying he didn't really know what to do, and he's just chilling, like he doesn't, he's not trying to be disrespectful or anything. He's just not going to move. He doesn't know what the hell's happening. And dude, isn't
the kid like 17?
16,
17, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I was an idiot. I wouldn't know what to do.
Exactly,
God,
and you've got people with cameras in your face, because there were people with cameras.
Let's get to that a little bit later, but
so that's what we've got. We've got kind of surrounded around him
and blessing me.
And based on exactly. And so based on this, we've got this huge group surrounded by the two of them, essentially, is what it looks like, at least from camera angles and everything. And so it became this huge controversy. And it all started with some left-wing or left-affiliated Twitter handle talking about how racist shit and these kids surrounding this Native American.
Well, you said was it the Twitter? What is the people behind Resist? Those two brothers.
It's
the Resist Twitter handle.
Yeah, I don't know exactly.
I I would never want to follow them, account. But they have a lot of followers.
It's a fake account.
It was a fake account. They traced it back to South America. I want to say Brazil, but I'm not 100%.
No, that Vice has interviewed them. It's these two brothers.
No, yeah,
no.
Actually, I hear what Mike's saying too. You guys are talking about different things. I think, because that Twitter handle was banned from Twitter because of Twitter. Yep. Yeah, because it was a fake account. They claimed to be somebody else, but they weren't. And it was like Resist 2020, or it was like Active 2020, or something like that. Or
correct.
Yeah, but there is a Resist Twitter handle that's. It's like these two brothers in Kansas.
It got picked up immediately as a viral thing because of this Twitter account. And the reason Twitter is saying they banned this leftist account is saying that actually looked into it, and it's some freelance journalist out of Brazil that's a communist or socialist or something who's trying to spark shit, and like they've been and so Twitter banned the account.
That's all it took.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you got your viral moment, but so they sparked it, and so we've got this, and there's
I wonder what manpower went into crafting that.
And it is
how many other things have they tried?
And
140 tweets a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been trying for a while, but so here we are. So we've got this huge thing, and now we've got the left and the right fighting over it really badly about how you've got accusations of stolen valor on the part of Nathan Phillips because he's not a Vietnam veteran. He just happened to be in the Marine Corps
at the time.
Yeah. That Vietnam was still an active conflict, but he was never there. So you've got these things.
But I mean, he could have been, he was, active. Yeah.
Yeah, but no. We'll get into that. But essentially, you have a lot of retractions coming out from mainstream media claiming he was a Vietnam veteran. Now they're all pulling back, saying no, that's not actually true. And
but he was in the Marines.
But he was, yes. He joined the Marines. He joined the Marines the year after the Marines pulled out of Vietnam.
But
and if you actually go back, Right.
But like, I mean, like, did he know that, or like, did he
Oh,
volunteer?
he knew. He didn't. Okay.
You know, like, or did he like volunteer to be a public servant?
We can tackle this
in
one
a time of war.
if you want to. We can tackle this one now. If you go back and look at what he actually said and everything with interviews, he never actually claimed it. He danced around it a lot. And he used a lot of language you could confuse.
Yeah.
But his language wasn't actually saying that he was ever in Vietnam.
I can speak on that one a little bit.
Go ahead.
So veterans of that era, of any era really, if there's an active conflict going on, if you are boots on the ground in the country, you'll often refer to yourself like a Vietnam vet. If he says those words, Vietnam vet, that means that he was in Vietnam. This is general.
But wait,
or
you have
I'm an
to
Iraq
actually
war
serve.
vet. I was in Iraq.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah,
But,
wait,
like-
that's right. In order to be a vet, you actually have to do that, right?
Yep. You have
Right.
to be boots on the ground in an active combat
Ah.
theater.
So if you were in during the time but didn't go boots on the ground, like there were thousands of guys in the military during Vietnam that were not in Vietnam.
Exactly.
So they'll refer to themselves as like a Vietnam era. I think Phillips calls himself a Vietnam Times, which is weird, but okay. But yeah, it's like they put that caveat in there to make sure it's clear. I wasn't there, but I was in at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and that's what he did. And then mainstream media ran
my
with
stepdad.
Yeah, the
my
media
stepdad
pulled
is
it out.
No, my stepdad he's a vet, and he was a Marine, but he was in what was it, the Gulf War or whatever,
sure.
like the 1991.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Storm.
Iraqi freedom.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
No, probably Desert Storm.
Yeah,
Desert
it wasn't.
Storm was called, I
it was not Iraq. 91. 91.
93 was Desert
1991.
Storm.
Yeah.
So they called
Desert
it.
Storm was Bush Senior, wasn't it?
Yeah.
HW.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I thought it was called initially.
Yeah, because
Bush.
it was like I was first learning about the VA. I don't know. I was
Mhm.
like 18, but he was like, "Yes, I'm a vet." So like, but he told me that like you need to serve. Like, you had to actually do that.
Yeah,
like
and
go
so,
out to war.
What we learned.
So wait, did this guy ever do that?
No, he was never in Vietnam ever.
So he's not a vet.
No, he's not.
Well, he's a vet. He was in the military. He's just not a Vietnam vet.
My understanding of the term.
Greg, can you sort of suss that out a little bit? Can you call yourself a vet for just having served in the military, even if you weren't in combat?
Absolutely. Yeah. Anybody who's been in the military is a veteran.
Are they? My understanding, a veteran had to have been in a military. Greg, are you a former military?
I still am, actually. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, but then my understanding is wrong.
He's in the Navy, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Right on.
So
yeah,
it's
no. So yeah,
it's not spurious for Phillips to call himself
a veteran,
Vietnam Times
or Vietnam era veteran.
Yeah.
He's just not
those
Vietnam.
are perfectly acceptable.
Is that how he always phrased it?
No. Yes, it is. No. Actually, we
went
back.
That's a smart way to phrase it.
Well, it is. But here's the thing: is that the mainstream media actually, I think it was WAPO.
They botched that.
They did.
Oh yeah.
They cut it out entirely and called him a Vietnam veteran. They're the ones who fucked it up. So he wasn't actually claiming anything wrong. It was the media that did so, and he was never even given a chance to correct it. Like.
I mean, the media, though, like, there's so much else going on in the news that they probably put their B-list journalists.
Oh, I understand.
You know?
I mean, this is a huge joke that I make all the time every time we have a massive, gun control push or something about, assault weapons. They always get weapon terminology wrong. I mean, it's super common. They'll refer to calibers as millimeters and things like this. They'll just screw up very basic.
Well, it's not even about. It's just about editing and
it's jargon, but they don't know anything about it, and that jargon actually matters as far as accuracy and detail goes. But these people have no idea what the fuck they're talking about, and they don't even look it up because that's not the important part of their story.
Well, it's because they can't read how important
The important part of the story is that exactly. You had a Las Vegas shooter who wounded 500 people or whatever. Right. The important part of the story
killed like 56, 57
over the particulars of the gun used to kill a bunch of people.
Yeah,
seems less important.
And so the third of America that's part of the gun community looks at it and goes, "God, you guys look like fucking idiots when you talk about this," because they don't know anything about the jargon because they have no idea what they're talking about. They're talking about the fact that hundreds of people died.
A Trekkie convention and I mispronounced my Klingon, I'd probably get criticized too. But
by the dorks.
That's what that sounds like to me.
Now, guys, keep in mind too that I'll be the first one to tell you that the media has become far more about narrative than anything else over the past few years. But there was a video posted to social media by Nathan Phillips in which he said he was a Vietnam vet. He used those exact words from
Nope. Actually, we fact checked that, and I used your link and actually showed David that as well. He referred to himself as a Vietnam era vet. He didn't actually say that. He used the proper language.
Three different videos.
Out of context. No, I know. I went to your link that you posted through the Daily Wire, showed it to David. We went through it. Then I looked through his other videos. Yeah, and then I went through all the
I'm not putting that on Daily Wire. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, that was he tried to pull it up on his laptop and it said there's malware ahead as soon as he clicked on it.
God.
Like, look, I'll do it on my phone. Don't worry about it. So
that's what if I've ever opened a Daily Wire article on my Facebook or something and just checking during the day, it always just like suddenly I've won something from Amazon.
Oh God, I hate that so fucking much. Anyway,
and I'm just like, ugh.
But what I was going to say specifically, Mike, to address that point is that no, Nathan Phillips never actually said anything to indicate that he was a Vietnam veteran. He did make the statement to Vogue in 2018 about Standing Rock, about the Ranger Recon thing, and even that's taken out of context.
It doesn't exist. Ranger Recon.
No, it doesn't. I know it doesn't. Yeah. No, I'm aware. You could have been referring to a scout sniper program, but that's not what he's doing. And he's not even claiming anything like that. If you go back and actually read the article, which we pulled up and looked through again and read his quotes, he's talking about his friend who is at Standing Rock, who is doing recon, and he's making a reference to him and saying, you know, what we do is like a Ranger recon thing. And he's referencing his activism, not his time in the military. He's saying we go ahead and we recon stuff. And then he's giving a shout out to his friend and saying, I appreciate you putting the work in, brother. And the article moves on. I don't know where the hell that got cherry picked into him claiming he was part of a Ranger recon unit with the Marines.
I didn't hear that until just a couple hours ago, but I did see, and I posted it in our chat. There is a video on Facebook or on social media. He did say it and talked about how his discharge papers showed that.
Yes, yes, and that's what we were discussing as well. Yeah. He calls himself a Vietnam veteran, Vietnam era veteran, and then he talks about that and says, "My DD-214," which is what he's referencing to. He says my discharge papers, but he's talking about DD-214, and what he's saying is the box is checked for in theater. He doesn't actually say he was in theater. He's referencing what the document says.
So again, there's so much hair splitting on this.
Exactly,
right?
Is that we're getting into this point where we're splitting so many hairs. But the
point. But can we, if I may, if I can hijack where you're going just briefly to get to the nuts and bolts of this thing. People were mad because they saw little MAGA hat wearing kids being rude to this old Native American dude.
Yeah. Supposedly,
what is reasonable to expect here? What is okay? What is out of line? That's what I want to know from you guys in terms of how that went down.
Well, the big thing is,
okay, Mike, you go. Then Greg.
You said it earlier. I forget which one of you guys said it. That it turned into a left and right thing.
Mm-hmm.
The left propped up Nathan Phillips as, you know, the victim, the good guy, a hero, the mistake or not, Vietnam vet, however you want to call it. And they propped him up. And then of course the right, especially when the 2-hour video came out and everyone watched it, they propped the kids up. And saying, "Hey, wait a minute! These kids, they didn't do anything wrong," and that's why I said earlier, the true bad guy of this story is the Black Hebrew Israelites. Like, no question about it. I don't think anybody doubts that. But
those people suck.
Just like
fuck them.
Just like the Gillette commercial, which we're not getting into, and I'm not.
No, please, God,
please no.
It's not what happened. It's the outrage that came after that, and how everybody behaved and became so tribal. And you could say, left-leaning media propped up Phillips, and the right-leaning media propped up the kids, and here we are arguing about something that, well, I shouldn't say arguing, debating something that really isn't that big of a deal on paper, but in today's era, everything's a powder keg, so a tiny spark, which is really all this was, blew up in everyone's face, and here we are.
And I think that's a lot of what this comes down to for me. Everybody's wrong. Everybody's narrative was wrong to some extent, and I think the hard thing we're having, the hard part of this for everyone, is acknowledging that and being able to concede on points. I got into a protracted debate with some very hardcore people and I conceded with like 90% of the things they were saying.
So I have a
10% they lost their damn minds over. But
I have a question. You're saying it's boiled down to this left right. Why was this story so interesting to everyone that they wanted to watch all these videos from different angles, learn all of the facts that happened?
That was the original story.
Of a 2-hour time frame on a Sunday or Saturday afternoon or something. I mean, I was running errands.
I'm ashamed
to admit I put way more than 2 hours into this.
Me too.
Yeah, you put way more.
By the way,
what I'm saying,
most of this country,
what happened in a 2-hour time frame.
We're doing
that's
now.
really what y'all are talking about, is a 2-hour time frame on whatever day of the week it was. And I don't know how many hours all y'all.
Well, the real controversial part was like a 5-minute.
Guys, one at a time.
Greg, why was this so interesting?
So the start of it was, and especially for me, I got into it real big time just because those kids were there for the March for Life, which I support, and a whole other topic. We'll move on.
We're not litigating abortion, please.
I'm triggered.
The second one is they're from Kentucky, where I'm from, and so the original news stories as they came out.
I would imagine that
was
would be a bigger reason.
Sure. So it came from the original thing. I guess it came from the Twitter account, and all the major outlets just latched onto it. Was these kids surrounded this poor gentleman, walked up on him, stormed him, and then they had the picture of Sandmann with that kind of smirking expression on his face, and they're private school kids. They're all wearing MAGA gear.
You were told a good family boy who's a Christian.
No.
Bullied someone.
I saw the original news stuff, and I went, "Oh, those sons of! I can't believe they."
Well, exactly, but they're like from Kentucky, and
stuff.
they're like doing something. They're like supposed to be good Christian boys.
It's the same reason the rest of the right got involved in this. It's the same reason the rest of the right got involved in it. I'll speak for the right on this one too.
Okay, so you saw
we're all like,
and it offended you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I was initially pissed at the kids. Like, I can't believe they've done this. They've ruined everything. They make us all look bad. And then by the next day, all the additional footage comes out. Like, wait a minute, and the whole image shifted.
Would you have cared as much if they weren't from Kentucky?
In terms of them being there for the March for Life, and then that being associated with it, if the original narrative had been true, completely true, they just stormed around this guy. Would you have
cared as much about the story if they weren't from Kentucky from the beginning?
I think so. I think so. Just again, based on the fact that why they were in DC in the first place, and that when you identify with a group, you really don't want, especially such a hot button
people
topic,
in the
you really
group
don't
to look
want
bad.
Somebody in that group to make the rest of the group look horrible.
Yeah.
And the original optics were awful. I mean, I was just storming around my house.
I saw it, but I never even thought that the kid with the hat on even really did any. I don't know. I just didn't think. I actually thought it was well, the guy's also dancing around. It's not. I don't know.
Now, one thing to keep in mind too is that
everyone's always smiling. I don't know. It's funny. Maybe that's why I was never interested. It never initially pulled me. I just thought it was whatever.
One thing to keep in mind.
Let's read more about the stock market.
Mike, what are you?
I'm sure Greg can attest to this, because this is the pulse that I've been seeing is, as that 2-hour video came out and everyone realized, wait a minute, what everyone's been saying about this is wrong. At that time, the stories running it was a bunch of kids. It was a bunch of white kids, Catholic school, wearing MAGA hats. That was at the top of every single headline. Every single news anchor led with that. They didn't say kids.
I mean, I'm white. I went to
important. I mean, those are important descriptions.
Yeah. So anybody that feels affiliated with any of that is like, wait a minute, they just attacked. I mean, this is just a feeling. I'm not saying this is a correct feeling, but the feeling was it went from they made this X group or groups look bad to now.
Just so you know, as a person who has been heavily affiliated with the Catholic Church in the past, I was an altar server. Some dude being a fool at a protest, the Catholic Church being bad on the Catholic Church side has had a lot worse PR problems.
It's the whole combination.
Kids, which is way worse, but it's
the whole combination.
Saying that you were an altar server is now scandalous.
Okay. Right. Tell me about it. But anyway,
the whole combination of that.
Yeah, we're gonna back off of that one for a second because Jesus Christ Almighty in heaven, Mary and Joseph, I don't want to get involved. The real important thing here is that those are accurate descriptions that are important to the situation, because if these kids hadn't been wearing MAGA gear, if we didn't know,
I think that's probably
if we didn't know that they went to a Catholic school, if we didn't know they were for March for Life, which is perceived as a very hardcore, hot button conservative issue. If we didn't know anything about them being conservative and there was just some exchange between them, none of this
is the hat
wouldn't be newsworthy.
No one cares.
It's the hat, and it's everybody else around them wearing the fucking MAGA gear.
The MAGA hat is a symbol.
Sure.
It is an extremely divisive one. It means very, very strong things.
This is the same thing. That all symbolism is important. This is the same argument I've made on our page, in our group, about how, okay, you want to target these kids for wearing MAGA stuff. Well, how about the girl wearing slutty clothes that got raped? Well, we're going to target her too. Yeah, she's sending some kind of symbol. This stuff is all symbolism. It is, to some degree. Neither one of these people should be a target based solely on what they're wearing. But you are broadcasting something with what you wear.
Broadcasting political.
I mean, this has been the way of human nature.
Well, so someone dressing slutty is in the eye of the beholder.
Sure, it is. Except when the tank top that's slutty says slut on it.
I can't wear stuff that, shows my shoulders a lot, but, because that is perceived as slutty in my profession.
Listen.
Whereas,
a lot of people.
Slutty is subjective. It's not actually a clear message.
Again,
it is subject. It's to everyone's own personal interpretation.
Let's take it to an extreme.
What do you think you have to wear?
Hypothetical. We're taking it to an extreme. What if the shirt is, shows your shoulders?
It doesn't matter. You're still describing something different. Like there's a red hat that has white type. There is no other interpreting it.
It says slut across the front.
It means I'm pro-Trump.
Well, and your shirt says, now, we're talking about a shirt that says slut on the front of it in huge letters. So
I don't think, I'm sorry.
Because those exist.
I don't think it's analogous to the MAGA hat.
Okay, really?
It's really not, no.
It's a shitty slogan to just be throwing around. I mean, cool.
It's not a slogan, it's a word, it could be on a
it's MAGA. Shirt, MAGA is the word. MAGA's a phrase.
No, theirs is a sentence that's associated with a political platform.
The word slut's associated with a certain
Is that a political platform that I
not
need to
political,
be
but I'm
with?
saying that you're expecting reactions from people for certain things. This is my point.
Yeah, but you're not airing out
population of women are wearing shirts that say specifically slut as comparison to people who wear.
What if it had a question mark?
They're both specific.
What if it's the word slut in a different language? You want to know what the word? So in Swedish, slut. So it's spelled slut. It's spelled the word slut, and it means happening, ending soon, like slut. Or whatever, and so you'll go to the grocery store. You'll go to the grocery store in Sweden, and I don't remember what the first word is.
Again,
and they'll have signs up for sale, and it's going slut.
Sounds like you're saying this out of experience and seeing it and laughing.
Oh my god!
Well, and also in order to ingress and egress, so exit or entrance into a parking lot is. Infart or utfart. And so there's
someone get a hold of these Swedes and tell them they're really fucking up with
and then there's one side there's infart.
I'm entirely with you. What I'm saying is it's ridiculous to ascribe. What I'm saying,
What I'm saying is if I wear the words with the word slut on it in Sweden, that's going to be it. If I wear the Make America Great Red hat in Sweden, it's the same exact message there and here because it's a symbol that translates. It's a trademark
phrase. Yeah, trademark phrase.
The word slut is not.
I get it. Yeah, but in America, we know what that says. And what I'm getting at is you're judging people based solely on what they wear. So you can compound it. And like I said earlier, it's obviously relevant to what's going on. The reason that we had outrage.
So if I wear a Planned Parenthood pin, on my, little lapel thing on my suit jacket.
Yeah. The little double pink.
That's the same. I mean, what am I saying with that? That I'm for Planned Parenthood, that I'm for something very specific.
Yeah, sure, but again, are you think you should invite criticism from the other side?
Is one, like, it's all objective to you and perception. It's not a main symbol.
You have a right to free speech and a right to what you wear. What I'm saying is that why are we making a huge deal out of what somebody's wearing?
I see what
I'm saying is you're confusing someone liking to wear certain things or versus someone objectively choosing to wear something, like Fox racing gear, or always wearing a Titleist hat or something. Make America great.
I assume that person's a golfer. I assume that person's a Trump supporting conservative. I assume that woman's a feminist or a slut. I don't really know what she's trying to convey with the slut shirt.
Exactly.
I don't know. You're making assumptions about people. Well, here's the thing, but should you treat them differently because of the assumption you made about them?
Yeah, but one of them isn't branded.
I don't give a shit what's branded. Titleist is branded.
Stop. Many people, I would say even probably a majority of people, see the MAGA gear as representative of, the
Donald Trump,
the vitriolic Trump supporter, the person who wants to get in your face. No, stop for a second. Let me finish.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Trump and you don't like it. Fuck you.
Who's being assumptive?
It's assumptive.
You are. Yeah. You as a person who assumes that you're being assumptive.
I'm saying it's not necessarily the case. I understand.
Well, I mean, politics is totally different.
It is a common.
Because Kanye West wears a MAGA hat. Does he hate black people?
I didn't say racist.
No.
What kind of logical leap is that? What the hell?
What's the question? He wears the MAGA hat. Does that make him a racist?
He has to talk about it.
Oh, it doesn't make.
He has to talk about it. Really?
Exactly. Yeah, he does.
What James just said is exactly. James
just said is a crazy logical leap.
No, it's not.
The fact that he wears. Does Kanye talk about? Hey, what does Kanye say whenever? What does Kanye say about the red hat? When he puts it on, he feels like he got a superpower.
Jesus, who knows?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I'm quoting him verbatim.
Yeah, I think
he did say that. But what James is saying,
he talks about wearing the MAGA hat.
What James is saying is a lot of people look at the red hat and they don't just think Trump. They think racism. They think sexism.
I think so. It's his campaign slogan.
Thank you. Hang on, Mike really nailed it there.
It's his campaign slogan.
I don't. Yes, it's his campaign slogan, but you're being assumptive to ascribe negativity to it. What I'm getting at.
If you have negative feelings about Trump, that's fine.
Okay, so you assume that anybody wears a MAGA hat is a racist. But when a black man wears a MAGA hat, okay. You assume somebody who wears a MAGA hat's a racist, and then you see.
I don't.
It is a one-to-one thing.
Here's what I.
What is your assumption on a black man wearing a MAGA hat?
Let me hear it.
I want to hear it. No, I want to hear
what I'm saying.
What do you think about a random?
So it's like we're talking about sort of category errors or fallacies of composition.
Simple
all
question.
A's are B's, not all B's are A's necessarily.
Yeah. Like, modus ponens.
Right. So if you constructed a Venn diagram of people who wear MAGA hats and a Venn diagram of people who are racists, like you would imagine, or people on the left imagine that Venn diagram looks very much like a circle, but not quite.
But it's not. Right?
Not quite a circle.
No, people on the left imagine that.
I say impression.
I know. I get it.
It's reality. I say that's the impression.
I get it.
I mean, whenever you start describing that, I didn't picture a circle.
So what I'm saying exactly is it's assumptive to think they both fall into the same category, and that's what swept this whole thing up. Was a bunch of fucking assumptions. Yeah.
Yes.
That's what swept the whole thing up. It's some Twitter feed got this and saw a bunch of white kids in MAGA hats and said, "This is racist."
And they like probably capitalized on the weird blood Indian thing that's going on in America now.
That's exactly what it was. Look at weird American man with a drum, and he's being stared down by a MAGA kid.
When the news first broke, I remember seeing like the first clip and it was just like like a gif of him smiling or something like that. But like I don't know, I kind of thought it was weird that he was drumming so much in his face. Just
Yeah,
personally. And so it's so like I don't know if maybe that's why I was initially not interested in the story. I mean, I'm gonna not read about this whenever this hangout ends, guys. So just so y'all know.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Because there's bigger shit to deal with.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend these 45 minutes talking about it and then it's done. But I don't know. I guess I think that there was something about it that initially grabbed either left or right, however you fall. Like there was something about that imagery that immediately grabbed a good chunk of America that we all went and right. I'm it's interesting. I consider myself very moderate. I don't know if it's necessarily that in this particular instance here. I don't know.
David, you were hot.
Right. Yeah, I realize I want to get to the virtuous case for these kids' behavior. I really do. I think there's a lot to be said for it. Because there's a lot of mistakes that are being made, I think, currently and could possibly be stopped in the way this is being treated and the way these kids are being viewed. All of that said, the first thing I want to say before we get to that, when kids in MAGA hats do a tomahawk chop at Native Americans, that's perceived as categorically racist. Like that's just straight up racism, but whether or not they're wearing MAGA hats or anything else. Okay. But this is the smoking gun that the left was looking for. This is why I'm getting to this. This was a smoking gun. MAGA hats, oh, they're probably racist. Oh, look at those white kids doing the tomahawk chop to the Native American guy who's trying to do some kind of like native, really sincere ritual prayer thing, right?
Kind of weird, let's be honest.
His behavior was weird. It's still totally racist.
No, hang on. Wait. Yes.
Totally racist.
Totally racist. However, let's talk about that. We have this national conversation every goddamn year about the Redskins, the Chiefs, and everything else. They
should change
it. Sports reference.
No, yes, it is. No.
Them doing that to him was not a sports reference.
Listen. That little tomahawk chop thing happens across the country for sports teams. Florida State does it. Atlanta, it doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. No,
yeah, it does matter.
The two actually do matter. That's the point.
I don't think any of it's good.
This is all common shit that I don't expect a bunch of
racist.
16-year-olds to understand, especially when they.
I think it's more acceptable whenever the sports teams do it, but I also think that we should stop.
I see what David's saying. David's saying it's easy to perceive as racist, and that's
okay.
Well, it is to do the tomahawk to Indians. That is racist.
By the way, that's been mentioned. We watched the clip of that earlier today too. Is one fucking kid.
There was more. It wasn't a whole. It wasn't like 1,000.
No one did it. It's a chant or anything. There was one
three
kid
of them together doing that.
Yeah, half-assedly, and they stopped doing it. They didn't.
It wasn't cool, man.
No, I agree, and I'm not trying to. Okay, I'm not trying to defend any of these.
Yeah, that isn't. Even if they do it, even haphazardly, clearly they've learned that from somewhere.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's why I think it should probably go away in sports as well, because
they learned it from sports. Let's be clear, they learned it from sports, not as a proper reaction.
And that's something that we need to resolve.
Yes. Okay, I'll agree with that entirely, and I'll agree with the fact that. Facially, it's
we should stop encouraging people to do it.
I don't hint of racism is there, and it's hard to describe that to somebody. Because you saw it. He's
doing traditionally Native American stuff.
No, it's just we're desensitized to it because it's okay because we're Americans.
And people do that shit in sports,
which is
too.
also racist.
Yeah, but because so we're thus desensitized to it because we're Americans.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at. Is that you have to look at a bunch of children doing it. And understand that they're mimicking what they see.
Yes.
Yeah, they're mimicking what they see. Which
that's interesting.
Describe
people with kids and
you can't describe intentionality to these kids to say that intentionally they did this to be racist. You can't.
Is it because the kids were so young? Was that another attention grabber?
Because fucking adults do it and they're not intending to be racist.
But if it was an adult, would you hear it as much, or was it because it was a kid? Because I think I saw
we don't
posts on the
teach Native American rights or respect at all in America. At fucking all. Not at all.
No, well, the reason why I ask about the kid thing is because I remember seeing a meme on the page that was the future of the future Supreme Court justice or something like that, referring to Brett Kavanaugh.
Oh God. Oh yeah.
So was it because they were also young?
Yeah. No, I think
so.
I think so.
Yeah.
Too. And like, look. Let me weigh in at least from my personal opinion real quick before I'm done with this discussion because I'm really running out of steam on talking about this. But my personal opinion is, thanks, Haley. But my personal opinion, these kids are little shits. I mean, I guarantee it.
Well said.
I can guarantee it. I grew up in Tennessee. I'm familiar with these kids. I grew up Catholic. I'm familiar with these kids.
I went to unisex.
Yep. And you know how much these little shits are little shits.
Yeah,
right?
they're all little shits.
I mean, I'm sure that smirk on that kid's face was a little shit smirk. Whether it's
I don't know. Like I was also like very like I think I was not smart. You're not smart at 16.
Not the least, but one of the least offensive people and all that. He was just center stage.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
I actually like
crowd around these native people.
Yeah.
Who were shouting and laughing.
Everything was weird.
All that shit.
But you're gonna get a bunch of kids shouting and laughing because that's what they do. It's mob mentality.
Let's go there now. I'm just saying their shit was out of line.
Yeah.
However, who was not a fuckhead when they were 16?
Yeah.
But and also like all the stuff going on, you know, like they had to absorb a lot of things that they probably, you know, they're like sheltered kids to a certain extent.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Like, yeah, you fucking froze and smiled, like optics bad, but like he's 16 and like he's like never paid a bill. He knows nothing. He's a gentle summer child, you know?
Exactly. None of these kids know a goddamn thing about politics, racism, Christianity.
No, I mean, they
probably
know about racism.
This shit. They
think we learned that young.
No, they grew up in an insulated environment. And I think it's pretty
I think that still happens. I think we have.
No, it does. It does still happen. And they still grew up in an insulated environment. They don't really know shit. And I'm not going to hold it against them. What they did, technically, on a lot of levels, was kind of gross and weird, especially in general. The fact that chaperones and all these people let this happen, but on top of that, the fact that the school and the diocese let them be bossed to the March of Life rally wearing a bunch of MAGA shit. That should have never happened.
I mean, like honestly, the people in charge, like I know free speech matters, but like especially at a private school, like I don't know, no, just don't. You know, don't invite what could be negative attention. There's a high risk of doing it, and like you should be able to read the world and know that like a lot of people don't like Trump.
Hang on, wait,
and it does, you know.
Wait, so no. Hang on, listen. I have cousins and family who are priests, nuns in the Catholic Church. Like this shit is close to my family. None of them would have allowed that. The diocese from
I don't know why you were cutting me off.
No, I'm not. I'm saying you can't blame on the kids. This is on adults.
That's what I said. Like the people should have said something because they should have known that increased the risk of them dealing with more extreme circumstances, and they're sheltered kids.
I think it's a hotbed of a bunch of dumbass parents who were chaperones, who were big Trump supporters that were like, yeah, wear that MAGA shit. Let's go.
Go to the March for Life event, but also, you know, like, you're going to see some people out there who are feeling very passionately, and you just haven't been exposed to it a lot, and maybe don't invite their attention.
That would have been the adult answer, but what I'm saying is I think the adults are the children here. I assumed the adults who were chaperones and shit were fine with them wearing the MAGA shit, knowing what they were doing and thinking, yeah, get in there.
I mean, I bet it like also comes in of the sense of like, you know, like can you really censor that though? You know?
Yeah. Hang on. You went to a Catholic school and you know this very fucking well. Yeah, they could censor it. You would be able.
I mean, I went to 17 years. I went to 17 years of Catholic.
Yeah, you're on a field trip. Yeah, they can definitely tell you what you can and can't wear.
Yeah. I mean, you can also get around it.
My ass! The entire squad is wearing MAGA gear. Come on,
seriously, one of the kids had an Obama poster for some reason.
All I'm saying is like, there was like a strict dress code. I also know who I am as a person.
Yeah,
I followed it.
I mean, I follow all of that. But I'm saying you're on a school trip specifically. You're all wearing MAGA gear. That shit was orchestrated by the parents, and you fucking know it.
I mean, I maybe I don't. No I don't know. I haven't seen the size. I haven't looked into the facts.
I mean, to be honest, to be fair, you're coming from a place of not really seeing any of this. And you're just,
there were 30 or 40 kids wearing MAGA gear.
And you're riffing off of just what we're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty wild.
This is a go back and look at it for yourself. You may reassess.
I'm not.
Chaperones signed off on.
I think it's a good point, though. I kind of
the adults knew what the fuck was going on.
Well, and no, that's good to hear. That I trust y'all's perspective.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it was 5 kids, I want to be sympathetic. If it's 30,
I want to be a little bit sympathetic to these kids, though, because so these kids are in this situation. And, you see someone who is chanting and singing the language you don't understand is coming and getting up pretty much in your face, right?
Yeah.
You're 16 years old. You're 17 years old. That's really awkward. That would make me feel really weird. I've been encountered that way before, not by an American person, but someone who's rattling off Bible quotes and is super rabid about it and just getting up in my grill about it,
yeah.
What do you do? I feel super weird. I'm not trying to necessarily be a dick to this person, but I feel really awkward right now. I'm on my heels, and especially if I was a younger person, what am I going to do to save face right now in front of my friends, so I don't look like I'm being I'm being handled by this person.
Well,
right? So James,
that's what you do. That's what kids do.
You might have experienced this going on Bourbon Street. So growing up in New Orleans, whenever you hit a certain age and you get fake IDs, totally didn't have, but
I never have.
On Bourbon Street, there are people who hand out pamphlets for the Bible.
Street preachers, yeah.
And I remember in college, whenever we first started going out and we were going there, some of my friends would get stopped by these people, and I'd turn around and be like, Lauren got tagged. We got to just go and grab her out.
Yeah, pull her out. Just keep going.
Let's keep on heading to the dungeon, because you're going through a crowd, and sometimes these religious people would stop you. And we were older than 16, but I don't know that I was also used to that situation, and the outsiders were not. So you just got to keep walking.
So we had that same situation come up with actually, I think when you met my ex Jordan, we had that exact situation come up, and we lost one of her friends to that. And, we pulled her back and brought her on. And then that disease rotted her brain, and that's where she is now. And she's a quiverful movement type. And she cites that as the moment she found Jesus was from one of those street preachers on Bourbon Street.
Yeah, that's a weird friend that you're associated with.
No, that's what she did. She tried to do that, and then the disease took hold, and it got her. She was exposed.
Well, do you want to hear something funny? Whenever the Katrina.
No, I'll argue that that's a disease.
Okay.
Side note that's funny. Whenever Katrina hit, and I had to go to that crazy Baptist school in Missouri for the Katrina semester because I was the refugee that was sitting there.
I remember that.
I was hanging out with some girls, and they told me that they had gone to New Orleans once in their prayer group, and they had been the people who had handed out the pamphlets. And I was just, it was this weird moment whenever I was playing Scrabble, and I was like, oh my God, I'm trapped at this crazy school. With the pamphlet hander-outers.
The Chick Track people, yeah. It's the whole thing. But anyway,
one thing I have to say, and I grew up in New Jersey, which is, I grew up Roman Catholic, but my school was nothing like a Catholic school by any means, just public school. But if I was 16 years old hanging out with my friends in the city, say New York City, and I was getting demeaned for however long by a group of people, throwing racial slurs at me and my friends, and someone else gets in my face banging on a drum, I'll be totally honest, me and my friends, let's just say these kids behaved way better than we did. I'm not saying that these kids were saints. I'm not saying that. But just knowing my friends in high school, we would not have held back like that. Not at all.
As a person who went to a Catholic high school, I'll say that New Orleans Catholic high schools are like New Jersey public schools.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were way more well behaved than
what I was going to say is when I was in high school, it would fight on sight with those Black Hebrew Israelites. The moment that you were calling my friends faggots and incest children.
Yeah.
And the moment you told my black friend that his organs were going to be harvested for even being around.
So you didn't say that they yelled faggot.
We had
whenever we were talking beforehand, but some of the insults that you said, I'm not gonna lie, they were funny.
They were sure, but
you didn't say that you started off with faggot and that just totally killed the tone.
Yeah, no, it was terrible.
That's weird.
That's also what they said most of the time was faggot. Faggot was the big thing you said, and it was in their face screaming it, and it was really terrible.
That's horrible.
They had 30 or 40 kids versus 4 or 5 Black Israelites. I'm letting you know that in Spring Hill High School, in Murray County, Tennessee, in public schools, we'd have beat the living shit out of those.
Well, I mean, so it was they are all young.
40 and 50-year-old.
It wasn't that many of the Black Hebrew Israelites.
Knocked the fuck out.
Hold on, I have a question. It wasn't that many though. It was only 5.
Yeah, there was nothing. There was a few of them. And these kids are trying to keep their shit together and not deal with it. And they're not listening, and they deal with it for 45 minutes until they decide they're going to start doing school chants to try to drown out the shit they're getting yelled at with megaphones and whatnot. They're trying to drown out.
They actually were trying to argue them when they were saying, throwing out faggot and all that stuff. They were actually like, man, they're people too. What are you doing? They were arguing with being decent humans. They're being decent humans for 45 minutes. They're fine, fuck it. They asked for permission from.
Why didn't it people who were supervising this step in and just ask them to start taking off their hats and
no,
very public area.
Well, I think we covered.
There's protests going on.
They should have
but they were also waiting. I mean, these are a bunch of people from bullshit Kentucky, so they were waiting to meet.
Were there chaperones there?
Hey,
whoa!
Sorry, Greg.
Wow.
First of all, Greg, you can come get some. Second of all,
they're Northern Kentucky. We only kind of claim them. It's all right.
Yeah, take a number, by the way. Get in line.
Okay, Tennessee.
But anyway, the important part is that the same thing would have happened around here too. Is
but were there chaperones around?
Well, the chaperones wouldn't know what to do. They're just a bunch of parents that are involved. Now the parents, I guarantee.
But no, were there chaperones there while these 5 people?
Yes.
What the fuck?
But they don't have any. What the fuck are you going to do while you have a bunch of random, angry, middle-aged black people?
Try to calm the situation. Do something,
I think they're afraid of black.
Organize everyone to sit down, keep everyone's attention.
No.
You're wrong.
I want to hear some pullback on that because I don't think it's there. I think they're afraid of angry black people with megaphones. Man, they're probably
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But
the video,
an angry person with a megaphone yelling at you, and you have to stand there.
If you're looking at the video,
just try to make them just try to.
If you're looking at the video with the chaperones, they're all wearing MAGA gear too.
Oh.
Yeah,
so I think they're terrified of the black people who are angry and yelling things at them. That's probably what's
no, they're clearly not.
No, I think they're afraid of being, provoked into something. That's.
I mean, you're in Washington D.C. in front of the Lincoln Memorial. There's people protesting with microphones and whatnot. Just stop, stop.
This whole thing is
too stupid
on the political culture right now.
About how poorly people interact outside their echo chambers.
You know what I'm saying? Is they're probably too stupid to understand the nuance of what they've gotten themselves into. Why would you have buses?
Surely not.
No, surely so. Again,
surely not.
They're having buses meet at the Lincoln Memorial during a confection of protests
gatherings.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think they saw that coming. I don't think they did any research.
They went to the Lincoln Memorial during a confection of protests. How can you not see it coming?
I think they bust a bunch of kids that are on a pro-life movement the Catholic Church wanted to push from their diocese, like every other diocese in the country does for March of Life. Because
not focus on the pedophilia.
This is a Hanlon's razor moment for me. Do not attribute to malice what is better explained by incompetence.
That's exactly what's going on. These people didn't understand. They were scared. Yeah. I guarantee the adults were scared. I mean,
but you really think they couldn't perceive that?
I think you should.
Y'all really do?
I think you should watch the video. The Black Hebrew Israelites
they were there to provoke,
militant and scary. Yes. They are frightening humans.
Again, think West
being violent. No.
Wow.
Is silent and just hold signs. These people are screaming.
No, they fucking yell and shit. And they've got their.
That's really unfortunate that happened.
Did you watch the video?
Of this thing, yes.
The Black Hebrew Israelites.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, they were yelling shit on the megaphone.
They weren't just. Yeah, they were getting in people's faces and doing their own thing.
I'm saying that
they were brutal.
Very much like.
Yeah, they were very. Yeah, they're very.
Like if I'm trying to give someone a baseline,
understand
what it was like.
And I guess with Westboro Baptist Church, you see it coming. It's a military funeral.
Right,
you already know it's coming.
Yeah.
This isn't. This could.
They protested Loyola.
Yeah, exactly. This could be an entire. This could be entire.
No, but I mean, like.
This could be a situation of incompetence by adults.
The Westboro Baptist Church people have just been famous for a long time.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is this could be a situation of incompetence by adults, not knowing they were going to face that. I mean, they didn't know it was coming.
Well, even if they didn't know, they just also didn't react in the moment, clearly.
No, they don't know what the fuck they're doing, clearly. They're wearing a bunch of MAGA shit. I don't ascribe intelligence to these people across the board for coordination or doing anything intelligent.
Don't do that.
Well, I mean,
I'm going
to some extent, the location, though, I mean, like the Sandmann story, they were out, they went sightseeing.
Had these problems? How many times have we had these problems?
Let Greg talk.
Oh, sorry. He won't. It's all about James today.
Well,
Jasmina.
No, I was saying, as far as the location.
Greg, I call him Jasmina.
Jasmine,
I like it.
So you know, but
I think that'll stick.
It's like a 10-year-old story. I don't know if you've ever seen.
Trust me, Greg. Trust me, Greg. Jasmina has stuck. But continue.
It's a name I invented 10 years ago. I don't know if you've seen it in the group chat.
Sorry. We're off rail again. I want to hear what Greg actually has to say. Sorry.
No, as far as the location, like the Sandmann story, they were out. They did the march. Then they went They had time for sightseeing. So the chaperones picked the location that everybody can find real freaking easy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
They didn't know they were going to hit conflict there.
No, go on.
Not aware that there was going to be a group of very militant, angry black men just causing all kinds of issues. And then also probably not aware. Honestly, I've never even heard one digression here. The Indigenous Peoples March. I don't know who organized that, but come on, like, if you want to draw attention
about the Indians, we all know.
I know that, but they do, and they organize their own march. Who organized that on the day of the biggest?
Excuse me.
Hot button issue march in the country.
Haley.
I feel like I can say this just for various reasons that but whenever it comes to organization and like legal pursuits in the Indian nation world, they have also not been the most competent. And also you have to keep in mind that they don't care to conform, and it's sort of like embedded in that mentality, which is something I really don't like, because
I don't like the words that you're saying. I don't like the words you're saying at all. I'm twisting them the wrong way, but like, did you just call Native Americans incompetent?
What I'm saying is that if you're a pro-Indian person and you see how certain things operate, I totally understand that there is this sort of inherent thing to resist white man government culture and like that kind of bureaucracy for very obvious reasons, but also like it pays to kind of know how to dance in the system, and just that's not a good message to sell. No one ever listens. No one ever listens.
Doing you no favors across the board, but I know exactly what you're saying. And
no, my thing was just that they really probably shouldn't organize their thing on the same day as the March for Life. That was
what I'm saying is
wait a minute.
Who started first?
Hang on. Who gives a shit who started first? This is Washington D.C. and this is the way shit goes.
Y'all are missing something completely. And what I'm saying, Greg, is that whenever Indian culture, this is a very, very general rule, but like they're not going to check like federal schedules or anything like that, because there's this sort of like inherent thing of resisting some kind of understanding and cooperation with
First Amendment and
federal
the right
government.
to assemble. peacefully.
Well,
it's really weird.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Unless you're
but it is though, and that's what I'm getting at, and that's
no, it's not.
the Lincoln goddamn Memorial, and that's what I'm getting at too. Is
and what I'm saying is, Greg, I highly doubt that they bothered to do any kind of research about what other
that makes sense.
national
protests are happening. Yeah. No, of course they didn't.
Yeah, I'm saying, they weren't going to ask for permission.
And
so it's interesting because
not that I think that they shouldn't have on the same day. I just for their cause, like to draw attention to what they're marching for. Don't do it on a day when you're going to be so overshadowed that nobody's going to know you're there.
Well,
unless you start banging a drum.
And what I'm saying,
wait, no, actually, hang on.
They don't. They're not. They didn't. That's not.
That might have been intentional on the indigenous peoples thing. That might have been intentional. I mean,
they wanted to disrupt. Really,
okay, but that's kind of the point of protest.
It's borderline activism.
Protest is disruption. That's why you do it. That's why people block highways. That's why people block.
So can we?
Protest is to be noticed as a small group.
Can we move forward from this a little bit? Because I want to. Because we could talk about this for another 2 hours. The thing about the kids and moving forward, there's a few thoughts that I've had, and I this thing kind of went back off the rails a little bit when I said, the tomahawk thing was categorically racist and what have you, but also they're kids and kids make mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And there has been.
It is categorically racist, but kids do make mistakes.
The kids do make mistakes. And the fact that apparently some of them have been receiving death threats, like Sandmann in particular, have gotten death threats and just hate spewed at what is essentially a child.
Covington Catholic hasn't held school all week because of death threats.
Right. So they opened.
They reopened.
I'm glad they did, but I think it's completely out of line, and I think it's damaging and wrong. Because I was having this
that poor kid, right? And he, do we know his name? I hope we don't.
His name is Nick Sandmann.
Nick Sandmann.
Yeah. We know. Do we know his name?
Oh yeah, he went on Today Show and did a whole big thing about.
I'm not gonna talk shit about him because I don't have a kid.
He hired a PR firm and he said he's not sorry, and
which is people want to boycott the show.
I would just hate for him when he's 26 and trying to go for really good jobs. If you Google him, that's.
I'm gonna go right back to the same meme and say that he'll be on the Supreme Court in the next 30 years.
But that's the thing though. That's what I don't want to see. Right. I don't want him to have aspirations to be
probably will
though. But the point is that any of us can look back to our adolescence in the really, really prodigiously stupid shit that we did. Right. Yeah. And I can think of several things I don't even mention publicly because I'm so embarrassed.
Right? Oh yeah, no, but now it's all on video and now it's all publicly broadcast because
and that's part of it. But I can think back to these things and I still think about them today when I'm pushing 40 and be embarrassed and ashamed of how I was and the fact that I learned something from that and I grew morally from those mistakes and their consequences, and that's made me a better person today. The fact that these kids are being attacked so viciously for the mistake that I think needs to be acknowledged that they made. The fact that they don't have any chance for introspection or reflection.
But it's because they're being attacked so viciously that it causes people to be so defensive.
It causes them to be defensive.
Exactly.
They're so busy digging in,
so they can't learn.
They did. They're not going to ever learn or process or understand that the way they acted, no matter whatever anybody else did, and all the other mistakes that were made, because they were made. Because of all these mistakes that were made, and they're being focused on and attacked so much.
Yeah, it's not about learning how to read a situation. I know we can have a First Amendment talk or whatever, but at the end of the day, read a situation and maybe take off the gear that might be enticing people. If that's really what you're perceiving. Learn
and
how to diffuse things.
I think that has a lot to do. I think that has a lot to do with what the chaperones were doing again, and I think we really need to fault the adults here.
Well, it's just I think it ends with these kids can't learn from it because it's attacked so viciously.
Not only that, but the kids are being coached now by a PR firm to dig in.
Exactly, because it's defended just as hard.
Yeah,
as it's
now it's let's get pissed and fight back against them because they want to shit on us.
Yeah, it's defended just as hard as it is attacked.
It's the culture wars. We're all being taught to dig in rather than to be circumspect.
And the thing that bothers me the most about that is that people keep attacking this Nathan Phillips guy, and he keeps adjusting his position and going live and talking, with news and everything else. And every time he does it, but he's going softer and softer with it every time. He's saying that actually I would.
Well,
hang on. He's saying that I would meet with these kids, that I forgive them, that it's important to me that we reach middle ground and all of this. I mean, he keeps revising his position to try to fix the problem.
Well, it's just, to me, it's, I wonder, because it's attacked so viciously and then it's defended so viciously, and people don't get the chance to, view totality of the circumstances and sort of engage in self-awareness, that's something that isn't shown in this incident, but also everyone had their attention grabbed by this story in one facet or another, and in that moment that this story grabbed them, however, the way, be it the way that it was fed to them in the narrative thing, but also, let's be real, everyone, not everyone was interested in the story. It did grab you. So, has there been a degrading of that ability of humans over time? And so because we're the transition generation in our own industrial revolution kind of thing. What is happening with us right now to where, this is how we're reacting to these kinds of situations?
Well, a big thing too is social media is where we used to be, before social media, you would have to wait to hear it in the news or whatnot. Now it's especially Twitter. Twitter, I used to be on Twitter a lot, and it's a cesspool. I love
Twitter.
I like it only for the drama.
I won't go. You can't make me.
You're the biggest edgelord ever. Twitter's amazing.
No, I won't
such
go.
a nightmare right now. It's perfect for trolling and nothing else. But these kids are still getting death threats from people on Twitter, and not just anybody, people with the whole blue check mark where they're.
Oh yeah, no.
But by the way, my tweet to my congressman, the one-eyed patch guy, porn star person, Crenshaw.
Yeah, I'm familiar with him.
Anyway, it got 35 likes.
Oh man, I have way more likes on NOLA.com for my comment about PJ Williams.
Are you really referencing something that happened years ago? And I'm
no. Stop. I'm actually referencing something that happened yesterday.
Really
yesterday, it happened
against 35 likes. We have
Stop. I'm talking about some guy who's on the Saints squad who got arrested for DUI in Orleans Parish yesterday, and I made a joke right when they posted it because it showed up, and I was like, "What the fuck did he do in Orleans Parish to get a DWI? Crash into someone's house and hit their child?" And I've got 175 likes.
Cool.
Sure.
I just thought it was funny. I
was just saying, why are we measuring? And then you continue to measure.
Well, after I did that, NOLA.com readjusted their article.
Oh man,
and what he did in the headline.
But that's exactly it though, and that's why I think that's what we're seeing is that everyone. Well, let's face it, everybody, no matter how you really feel, you want likes, you want shares, you want people to engage.
I'm just happy that I tweeted at my congressman.
Yes, seriously. Fermentingopinions.com.
No, I get that there's a social media currency, but in my instance, I was just happy that maybe my representative would see stuff.
If every video get 1 million likes, we could make 6 figures a month.
So what are we doing?
We gotta split it.
I used to have one of Ted Cruz's phone numbers, but I'm pretty sure he blocked me.
Oh no! Share it right now. Let's call him.
No, I'm not. Because, I'm not. But I did leave him a lot of voicemails.
Yeah, I've got a lot of questions for Ted. So if you could get me his number out.
Did you see that? There's something trending about him recently with a Colorado senator who went off on him or something because Ted Cruz apparently went up and Ted Cruz went up and started crying or something about the shutdown, and then Colorado Senator
Corey Gardner.
Colorado Senator Because I remember the Ted Cruz shutdown because I had been in Texas for a little while.
Well, we all remember it. Anyone who pays
the green eggs and ham.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a big thing.
That he read to continue the shutdown from happening.
Because Obamacare is costing lives.
Oh yeah. Well, and then this Colorado senator called his tears crocodile tears. It was great.
Right.
That's it.
But okay, I want to transition to the shutdown because really that's impacting a lot more people, a lot more significantly. Do we want to go around and give final thoughts on this encounter, this controversy regarding Mr. Phillips and the Covington kids? Mm-hmm. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, let's stay away from kids. You know, it's not like
Usually what I tell most people looking for sex.
Wow.
Well, I mean, just like if you're gonna, it's one thing. Yeah. It's one thing if like the Parkland students want to like come forward and put themselves into the public
fuck
eye.
Those kids too.
It's another thing to try to force some 16, 17-year-old being a viral video to like come to the national stage and do all this, like 16-year-old kids are young and I know that I was extremely stupid. I'll also acknowledge that a lot of them were smarter than me when I was 16 and like maybe someone is going to have the ability to make that kind of conscious decision. But yeah, let's not go after kids. If you're going to like step up and put yourself into the public eye, I think that's totally different. I think that you probably can criticize the Parkland kids a little bit more.
Sure.
But they are doing it purposefully and they're opening themselves up to praise and criticism, whereas this kid is don't do that with someone who's not don't do that.
I'll dunk with Haley real quick and completely agree with all of that. I'll also mention those Parkland kids can go fuck themselves. They're terrible human beings. Like the whole
Parkland
thing.
Kids, the kids. School shooting.
Not they're mad about it. No, it's the response they had afterwards that was absolutely terrible.
David, it's fine. Let it like.
No. The response. That was a completely.
All you're doing is feeding it by reacting. Like who cares? You're like that. You're right. They put themselves into the public eye. They open themselves up to negative perception.
Reasonable.
Then that's yours. You can say that about them all you want. You can say that about people who survived a mass shooting.
Completely reasonable.
Keep on saying it.
Their response was completely reasonable. Afterwards, and the shit they've gone through since, especially David Hogg. Nah, y'all are terrible people, and you're just really missing the mark. And you're acting like children, and you can keep being children, and that's fine. No one takes you seriously, and no one gives a fuck.
Just let it ride, man.
I don't even know what that's in reference to.
Man.
I don't.
No, it's fine. He's just bulking in a group of kids who survived a mass shooting.
No.
It's fine. It's fine. Let it ride.
You should keep up. Hang on.
I mean,
keep up with what they say.
It's like you're making fun of kids with leukemia.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
You don't have to keep up with what they say.
You can be outraged initially. It's what you keep up with. Listen to what these people do since then. It's been pathetic, honestly. It's starting to get stupid.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's fine.
I can't respond to it. So
let it ride.
Let's get back to the thing. So do you giving your take, Greg? What do you think?
Nah, pretty much just what Haley said. It's don't go after kids for don't assign your own political biases to a bunch of kids that have none.
Yeah.
There's all this stuff about privilege and his smirk is just a sign of how racist he really God, for God's sake, it's a 16-year-old kid with a drum in his face. Who cares?
Yeah, I would, for any reason, if somebody did that to me and I was 16 and trying not to let other people know how awkward and uncomfortable I was, I'd probably act like a dickhead too. Like that's what the way I think about it. Like, he's a child, just trying to make his way, kind of thing. I don't hate that kid for it. But yeah, also not a great look. But yeah, I get you though. I agree with you though, Greg.
Has anybody seen
We were talking about earlier about they're digging up dirt on or trying to dig up dirt, if you will, on Phillips, but they keep trying to find stuff on Covington Catholic. Has any seen the faux outrage on these kids in blackface?
That's actually we fact checked that too. I don't want to get too deep into that, but yes.
Yeah, no, I saw it. It was ridiculous, but I just wonder if y'all had covered that one or not.
It's true. I mean, they did do that. There was some explanation for it that I think had to do with
it wasn't intended as like mockery of black people.
Exactly.
Apparently, it's part of their team spirit stuff.
However,
and
it was a blackout. It was a blackout.
I will say this, and I am familiar with all-girl and all-boy Catholic high schools competing in 4A and 5A level, sports teams. Like, I didn't go to a small Catholic high school.
No.
There are all black ones. And yes, there was a whiteout. I remember when I was in high school.
Some racist ass shit, yeah.
And I mean, like it wasn't racist. We've done all white before,
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
And
but it was racist as shit, and
it was total. I think about that now, and I'm just like, oh my God.
I mean, again, I'm not going to fault.
I'm pretty sure, like if I had gone to the game, I don't remember if I did or not, but I'm pretty sure if I did, I probably wore like all white.
Yeah, and and no one's faulting students for that as children.
But that's exactly it. I shouldn't be attacked for that. I was still forming my brain.
Of course. However, there are adults who know fucking better and who should stop that. Right?
Yeah. The adults at my high school shouldn't have allowed that.
Yep. That's how I feel about the chaperones That's how I feel about the chaperones at the Lincoln Memorial. That's how I feel about the chaperones and anybody else who are coaches or anything else.
But yeah, but also I feel very deeply like don't go after the kids. Though.
Probably don't allow a bunch of white kids to dress in blackface and scream.
Even if some people are incompetent enough to have that happen, don't go after the
inner city school that's your rival. Probably don't show up in blackout, in full fucking blackface without wearing shirts and shit, screaming these kids' faces. Like it's probably a really bad look. It's a bad look. Probably shouldn't do that. And there are adults that should know better.
Right. Yeah, but even if there are, don't go after the kids.
No, I agree. Yeah, I wouldn't go after the kids, but I'm saying it shouldn't repeat to the next year because someone somewhere should have fucking said something.
Right. Well, it's defended on, look at it as just being PC culture.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we're wrapping up. We're not doing that.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
Mike, I think it's Mike's turn.
Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, there's 2 points that I could take out of all this is one is people need to realize, and I mean everybody needs to realize that not everything is what it seems. Just because a story comes out, even if it's mainstream, wait for the facts because most of the time, especially here lately, but in general, it's wrong. What we're seeing is what I think. There's way more to it than that, but this is a blatant. Journalism has gone way downhill. They're not doing their due diligence, and they're creating a lot of fires where there are none.
I'll disagree to that to a certain extent, just because whenever it comes to certain news, there's certain things like this is a story about emotion.
Okay, hang on. Haley, I'd ask you to just table that for a second, let him finish this thing out. But I know where you're going with that, but hold that for a moment.
It's just letting people know that doing your own fact checking, your own research, looking into situations, using multiple sources, multiple biased sources too, because every source is biased. We all know that. But looking at left and right and trying to filter it through yourself seems like a really lost art. Or I mean, it seems like almost nobody does it sometimes. But popular in our group and fermenting opinions. But other than that, it's and this is not this is just a summary. It's a really sad state in our society where wearing a "Make America Great Again" hat, no matter how you think of that symbol, makes so many people believe it's open season for physical and verbal abuse. That's just a really sad state for our society to be in, and I hope we can get past it. I really do.
Right on, and I agree with that. Haley, I think you had some pushback a little bit.
Well, and to the second point, I think that also ignores that totality of the circumstances, being self-aware and everything.
Hang on, wait, I don't
so
wanna...
like one, like
wait,
I don't want to get too deep into that. Every single news story is subject to being viewed in a completely objective way. If I'm reading about the stock market, I can be told, where numbers are at, and then I can read about how certain people predict certain things that are happening. I understand that those numbers are what they are, and I understand that those people are now speculating. But whenever it comes to a story like this situation, it's immediately based on emotions, and it's also not self-aware.
Can I ask you if I can surmise that really quickly to see if we're on the same page? I think what you're saying is that essentially we got this initial flash of facts that we thought was going on, based on what we understood, and that subsequent journalism brought us a broader picture. But really, initially, what the media was commenting on was what was presented to them. They had a picture presented to them, and they
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the base fact of this story was completely hinged on perception. So there was a video that played certain clips, and a good majority of America saw the video and had an immediate perception.
Yes, we all thought these kids were shitheads.
Some people didn't care.
I didn't see anyone in the first 12 hours. I didn't see one person who didn't care. Honestly, I saw
because the only people commenting care.
No. Listen, I'm talking about like a lot of my friends who wear the MAGA hat, and that's the only fucking hat they wear.
They have a reason to care.
And they cared. What I'm saying is
because there was an immediate perception thing that was happening, but it wasn't that, hey, the numbers are this. It was either, hey, this person is, just everything that you symbolize as being bad with the other side. And then the other side was like, hey, here is just someone looking like a piece of shit that's from your side. And so it was a visceral reaction by both sides.
That's what I'm getting at.
Because the base fact was based on based on perception in general, and depending on how you lean, you could fall one way or the other.
But no one.
I thought initially,
no one I knew fell to defend the kids.
But neither of the categories I just said fell to defend the kids.
Okay,
it was either like, oh, look at this, let's hyper attack it, or oh my god, this looks super bad.
But that's what I was getting at. I'm not talking like.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I misunderstood what you were saying, Haley. I think
not just facts. Like I'm not talking about like stock market or baseball scores. Like just to give a different example, because it's the different biases. Like Trump today could say, I'm signing a bill that gives every American $1,000 back on their taxes when they file.
Right.
Fox News is going to say Trump is doubling down on his tax cuts, and CNN or someone farther left than CNN is going to say Trump is trying to bribe the 2020 election. Like seriously, that's what I'm saying is you just got to look at the story, look at the facts as we know them. Filter it through yourself,
and what I'm saying is there are certain stories. So, like with that example, you could then look like what was his tax rate previously, tax cut rate previously. Did it actually double? See what was reported versus, the Trump's trying to bribe. That's a perspective. Like that is like a perspective base. And so with this particular story, there isn't like some kind of control factor. Every single base fact is just.
I agree.
Like the facts are completely framed as a left versus right. Someone in a Trump hat and a Native American, come on.
I mean, we got to reframe what's going on here. I think what Mike was saying is that we jumped to conclusions too quickly, and that and there wasn't enough reporting for that. And what I was trying to push back on, and I thought, Haley, that's where you were too, is that the media is reporting. What is this viral trend? I mean, they're trying to discover their facts at the same time, but they also have to report what's becoming something.
No, what I'm saying is that like there's a deeper thing. Every single individual person has their own perspective to this. So like regardless of how the media reports on it, like if they say, white kid at protest, stands in front of Native American man banging on drum. That imagery, though, there was an imagery that, I would say it's been going off on the page for a little while.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
I know that I think it's the majority of the people have, been sort of, so there was just some kind of base fact in that. That it wasn't literally the media could have said white kid stands in front of banging a drum.
I understand that your point is that we're going to dissect it no matter what, and I think that what
I'm saying, even if the media isn't if they're trying very hard not to put forth the slant, we run a small Facebook page, and we try to always.
The problem is their source, the initial point they're getting from social media is something that's biased, and so they're reporting.
And so they're going to have their own reaction to it.
Yes, exactly, and that's what I'm trying.
The imagery and everything, and but even if they just try to say the base facts, it's one of those things that it's the imagery that you immediately see.
And so we have a
Greg said that he immediately was like, these kids are shitheads based off of the imagery.
We have a disconnect, and what I'm trying to say is we have a disconnect over how the media should actually handle this, because what you're saying makes
sense. Should they not report it?
No, that's what I'm trying to get at, is that everybody is making the same point that makes sense, in that, yes, there should be a higher degree of fact checking, but at the same time, you have to balance that against where your sources are. When your sources are some viral,
that's the standard.
Yep. No. And when your sources are some viral Twitter account that got deleted and thrown away because it was a trash Twitter account, but that was the source where it came from. I mean, you have to react.
But literally everyone is reporting. It's one of those things that caught fire. If other people are reporting on it,
is that we all are splitting hairs over something that's wrong here.
I think you're missing the point. There's a reason why it's on fire. It was an impactful image.
Yep. Everyone's doing their best, is what I'm getting at. Is what I'm saying is that the mainstream media is trying to report something that became viral that's huge.
Yeah, people are inherently good.
They're throwing out what they've got and the facts that they understand. Their facts are completely wrong, and we find that out later.
I don't think that. I think that it's all literally all based on how you.
I don't argue. We're not going to revamp all this. I'm saying that we have plenty of proof that plenty of their facts are wrong on this situation. That only comes when the crowd Listen,
that's general.
Only comes when the crowdsource actually shows up and can do the work, because the mainstream media is trying to report on something that went viral in 30 fucking seconds. It went from no one's heard of it to half the world's heard of it an hour later, and now people are.
And that's just growing pains and dealing with how we're going through a technological revolution.
But that brings
so that is what it is. But also, I think that you have to recognize that there was we dealt with growing pains in this fact pattern, and there was a reason why we did. It's because there was something visceral about something that happened. I
totally agree, and that brings
and that is my main point. It was a story that was inherently based on perceptions at the beginning. There wasn't any control to it. And even if every single media outlet reported just base facts about what happened, everyone had a reaction to it. They knew, at least knew that this was going on, and
on point. I completely agree with you. And that brings us back to the point that it is the 34th day of the government shutdown. It is. Hang on, because we're wrapping up. I mean, I don't know. There's nothing.
Thank God.
Here, there's nothing really to talk about here, except for it's the 34th day of the government shutdown. There are still 800,000 people not being paid. The Democrats and the Republicans continue to squabble.
Half of those are still working.
No one can figure out what the fuck they want, and it looks like Donald Trump is now drawing up executive order to declare a national emergency, and he wants $7 billion for the beginning of his wall.
Well, we thought, all that's changed is what we thought was going to happen 2 weeks ago is happening 2 weeks later.
I didn't say that to be a discussion point. I'm just recapping before we sign off. I just wanted to cover all of this real quick.
Because stuff like it's on our show notes and stuff. We're like, by the way, we might mention the fact that
I do want to mention the fact that
we're
the
a month
government's
plus
still shut down.
On shutdown.
Yeah,
we have federal employees, including air traffic controllers and TSA, and whatever you think about TSA. You don't get on the plane. The bags don't get on the plane without them.
Yep.
Yeah. And you, Dave, you and I had talked about a quote or something. But one of the things we also want to push is people subscribing to the page. So if anyone, our 5 viewers that are still watching right now, subscribe to it. But regarding air traffic control, they released a statement yesterday that, and I'm heavily paraphrasing here, said something to the effect of, we can't, fathom, verbalize, convey to you the amount of increased risk that there is with respect to our operations to safely make sure that planes don't crash. So if you can, basically, is the wall worth a potential crash, because we're operating very risky right now.
Can I speak to this a little bit? Because
he has pilot
training. I'm a pilot. I haven't flown in years, but I'm a pilot. I know lots of aerospace and aviation folk. I know many people are affected by the shutdown who are in the aerospace industry.
A lot of my family actually does this for a living, and
there you go.
Many of them are ATC.
Right, and ATC especially. Air traffic controllers have like the top 3 most stressful professions.
Oh yeah, it's terrible
in the world. It's like up there with like brain surgery and I don't know what else, but it's like one of the most stressful jobs you can have on the planet is being an air traffic controller. We're sitting there directing traffic. You have the lives of potentially thousands of people in your hands at any given moment, right? Especially at a major airport. Is this the person you want to worry about when they're going to get paid again?
No.
Is this the person you want to know if they're going to default on their mortgage or if they're going to get behind on their electric bill? Personally,
I don't want them thinking about anything else. They're working.
Who's telling people what to do that's going to affect my life? I want them to be well fed, well rested. I hope they got laid the night before. I hope they're in a fantastic fucking mood. And if they're worried about all this other shit, and that's running in the back of their mind, like that's chewing up.
Yeah, I sincerely hope that they got a good night's sleep before.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. No. So I'm going to go ahead and say this as we're closing out, because it's time for us to close out. But let's bring this point up. Fermenting Opinions, as an organization, does not recommend that you fly until the government shutdown is done with, until the ATC is paid. You are risking your life. It's probably a bad decision. And, I'm just going to go ahead and say that. Do you really want to?
If you have the option to not do it,
I would
advisable that you don't.
Yeah, I would advise that you don't. And I know people who work.
You have to understand, some people.
I am related to people who are ATC, and they'll tell you the same thing. It's advisable you don't. They have coworkers calling out. They have coworkers who don't give a shit. These people don't care. You're really playing with fire here.
Well, and it's also like we're on day 34. So yes, we do have those things that are happening. We're starting to feel those effects. One of the things that some people are also starting to feel are the indirect effects, which are, yes, there is 800,000 workers who don't have a paycheck right now. And so they're definitely tightening down on spending habits. And, depending on locations, on whether or not you live in a city where there is just a sizable population that might be federally based employees who work, X. And, you're starting to see some small businesses in those communities and small businesses. And I mean, communities that are also in larger places. DC is getting hit hard. There's people that work in DC who aren't getting paid. That is actually one of the bigger hubs. But there's outlets all over our country, and there's people who are starting to get indirectly impacted that I think we should also keep in mind.
I completely agree.
Sorry,
that was really just we got into the flight thing. I figured we'd throw a safety warning out there. I wouldn't recommend flying right now. But anyway. I think we've beaten this horse to death across the board.
And well, hopefully, maybe hope we can do another one of these next week. And
I would love to.
More about what's happening with Trump steps and what's
I hope to fucking God we've forgotten about these kids and this Native American elder.
And I just
so do I. Yeah, let's all make a concerted effort to stop.
Please.
I'm cool with that. That was always sort of my point. It's like everyone's really
also
hyped up about that. Everybody was wrong. Everyone's missing the point.
I'd like to throw out a big thank you, guys. Haley, Greg, and Mike, we appreciate you guys being on here. Mike, it was great to have you the first time, by the way. I'm really happy to have you. Second time?
Yeah, he's been on here before.
He was on here once before. He was real sick.
Yeah, he used to have like a green M instead of a picture.
I don't know if he was here before, but
either way,
he was on once before, so we've had him back. So
either way, you guys
I thought Greg's also been on here before.
I know Greg has, but I was saying thank you to Mike. This is my first time interacting with Mike, but thank you for being here, all of you. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Little special shout out to Ross James and James Media. He actually helped us.
Yep.
The damn link for the Hangout wasn't working.
Yes,
he helped us figure that out a little bit. Please check out rossjames.com and all the cool work that he does in our digital.
He's very helpful for the page too, so he's great.
Helpful for the page, and he helps so many people in all the projects that they do. I think he's a cool dude. Please check out his stuff. That said, I'm David Papiden.
I'm James McVeigh.
And we are Fermenting Opinions, and we will see you next time. Have a good night.